What's up guys, welcome back to Games in Hand for another Legion Go video. We finally got the new Legion Space officially, so this is rolling out for everybody. I don't see it on the website yet, but it did pop up when I opened Legion Space last night. So this update's been out for like 12 or 16 hours from time of me making this video. I've run into a few issues that we'll talk about towards the end, but I do want to go through and just kind of do an overview and show you guys what this looks like and show you around so that you'll have a general idea. Now when you first get updated and load in, it'll give you some little tips and stuff like that, and then after that you'll be into the store page. Now you can tab over to the My tab, and this is going to have like your Legion information here, your ID, login, all that, help center, online support, screenshots, just a simple tab all the way over here on the left. And if we tab back over to the right one, we'll go back over to the store that we had launched into. We've got PC featured and popular games here. We've got cloud gaming, which takes you to the same place that it did before, just the Xbox cloud website. Not even the cloud website anymore, so I don't know. They need to work on the cloud gaming part of things, but other than that, we've got our store in here, which is what we had before, but it looks nicer. In general, the UI is updated and just looks better for Legion Space here. It's still a little bit clunky and has some issues, and we'll get into some of that, but yeah. So if we tab over again here, we'll be into library, and we have our game platforms. So if they're not installed yet, you can download them. If they are installed, you can open them from here, and this actually looks really nice and has worked well for me. If we go over here, we have refresh, and then we have add a game. So easy enough to check off and add another game or piece of software in here, or add something manually. And then your installed stuff that the device is picking up on here in your library. I've been testing all the new updates to the Nexus games, and that's been working really good for FSR 3.1, which we'll have a video on that as well eventually. If we tab over here to settings, now we have all this fan temperature for the GPU, CPU, and gives you a little bit of information here. It looks really nice. On the bottom, we have all of our different tabs. So performance is the first one. You get this little arrow above everything as you're scrolling around, which does make it easy to see what you're highlighted on. I always had a little bit of issue with that in the older UI, so that's a little bit nicer. This is basically all the same settings and information that we had before with Legion Space, but it's just all been totally redesigned with the UI, and it's nicer and cleaner. So anyways, down here to the rest of the performance, you have your FPS limiter and all of that, and your OS power mode in here. All right, so we'll go back here, and restore default is on the bottom. Now if we go back, we'll check out the next tab on the bottom, which is display, which is your brightness, your resolution, your display refresh rate, and your RSR for AMD. So pretty simple there. We'll go back and we'll hit the next tab, which is going to be audio. So we'll go into audio here. We have our volume, our output device, our microphone, and our input device here. So pretty simple, easy, intuitive here. Nothing major for audio. We'll go back. And then we have disk and disk drive. So you'll see any of your drives here and your SSD. If you click on these, it'll just take you to their main folder. And then down here we have driver update, which used to be in the drivers tab of the old Space. So if we click in here, it'll check for updates. We don't see that, what was it, the chipset driver or whatever that never would go away. Seems like that's fixed, but there were no updates in here for me yet for anything else. But that's where that's at and works just fine there. So we'll go back here, go into the general tab, and this is just your language preference, the clock, your boot into Legion Space, power button light, download path, screenshot folder, your current version, all that stuff here, and your about tab. So that's what we have over in our general for that, and that's everything in our actual settings tab there. So everything down through there, pretty easy, pretty simple to go through. Now if we tab over to our final tab here, we have our controllers. So we have our button mapping. This is actually a really clean, really nice layout. It's kind of similar, some parts of it, to what we had in previous Space, but this is just a little nicer and easier to use. So we'll go in here, you can view and edit your layout just like before. Go in here, change all of your buttons if you want to. You have your front view, your rear view, and you can do all that. And you can always restore everything as well, or reset the templates and make your own there. And same thing for the FPS mode. So just like before, we can go in and edit all that. Just looks a lot nicer now than what it used to. We have our joystick lighting over for our next setting here. Simple enough. Your lighting profiles, your effects, and then of course you have your brightness, your speed in here. So simple, but easy to get to and change up that. So we'll go back, and our next tab is going to be the joystick settings. So this is where you can go in and you have your dead zone sensitivity or dead zone area for each, and then you have adjust joystick dead zone here. So go back again, we have trigger settings, and then you have your left and right triggers just to adjust those zones for your trigger. So simple enough, but looks good, easy to use here. So we'll go back. This is definitely a nice redesign and UI for everything, so no real complaints about the settings. This is actually pretty nice. And the final tab over here and more just has your vibration, controller mode, your gyro behavior, enable touchpad, controller hibernation, the function key shortcut, and being able to change those around, and controller firmware updates and that type of thing here. So pretty simple there. All the settings we used to have, just kind of made to look a lot nicer here, easier to use throughout Legion Space. So this part of the update is actually pretty good. No major complaints. There are some clunkinesses. I had a couple little crashes here or there, but ultimately this looks a lot nicer. I think this is a lot better basis to build off of. Now we do have the quick access menu, which also got an overhaul on how it looks, but it isn't really changed other than that. It's all the same information that you had in here, basically laid out the exact same way as before. It just looks nicer than it did previously, which is fine. A nice UI update here. There might be a couple little changes here that I'm missing, but for the most part, it's what we had before. My issue is that they did basically fix the frame monitor, which has been an issue for a lot of people. We're going to take a look at that in game, but it still has some issues, at least in my opinion anyway, and the TDP stuff, which we'll talk about as well. But yeah, going down through here, same tabs, same settings and everything we had before, just with a lot nicer look here. Our system quick settings here, which this is actually a good tab. I've actually found myself using this quite a bit when I'm on my go. And then we have our productivity mode and our help center, which has all of our different connections for online community forums and the update site and all that kind of stuff, and power. So that's a complete overview of the new Legion Space and the quick access menu. It definitely looks a lot nicer. I've had a few crashes and clunky times, or times where the quick access menu didn't want to open when I hit it, but for the most part, pretty nice. Into game here, we're going to go ahead and turn on the frame monitor. And it works, which is good, but my only thing is the refresh. The amount of times, like how often this refreshes, just isn't the best. I have the Steam frame rate up there in the top right of the screen there too. It's a little hard to see, but it changes obviously much more often to kind of be more accurate with what frame rate you're getting. And in a game like this where I'm unlocked, it really should be changing more often, especially when I'm moving around. And even some of the other stats, it's just, I don't know, it's just not refreshing that often. And it's not going to be a big deal for a lot of people trying to get just a general idea of how a game is running, but for someone who tests games, or a content creator like me, or I don't know, anybody that just kind of wants to see even more real-time frame rate, it's just not going to really do the job, at least not yet. Now I don't know if this is on purpose, just the way it works, or if it's something that can be fixed, but for me it's kind of an annoyance, but it does at least work now basically. So going over to my monitor, the TDP here, 20 watts performance is usually where I'll be gaming at. Works for the most part, but I did want to go in and do some changing because I had somebody tell me they were having some freezing and problems with changing TDP in game, which we used to have before, and then it got fixed for me. Well, in this update, it seems to be back. So if I cycle through and I hit my custom mode and 30 watt mode, it definitely has some issues when it comes to performance. It's not doing what it used to and increasing my performance the way that it should. So it's either something's not switching, or it's not reading right, or whatever there. It's just not working properly. And when I swap through the modes, and I go to, say, the 10 watt mode, and then I try to go up to the 15 watt mode or the auto, it does what it used to do, where it just tanks, never stops at 15, and just keeps going down, even below the 10. And then no matter what you do in game, you can't change the TDP mode again. I had this happen to me over and over again in the past couple hours before putting up the video in a few different games. So my TDP switching and stuff is just kind of broken the way that it used to be when it was fixed before this update. So that's been an issue for me. I don't know if it will be for you. If I reset the game, I can go back into 20 watt mode. Everything's fine, but I can't switch it in game here. So there are definitely some bugs and issues, probably things I haven't run into yet since I'm really just getting into all of this, and stuff that you guys could comment and let me know what you found. Overall, we do like the way this is looking on the Legion Go. It's the right direction for the UI and how easy it is to use, but it is a bit buggy and is breaking a few things, and overall game performance just seems like it might be taking a little bit of a hit as well, but that's something else to look into. But anyways, guys, thanks a lot for coming to check out the video. As always, we really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.